There's a very popular saying in Hindi. It says, Andher Nagri Chaupat Raja. Literally, it translates to something like the dark city and the whimsical king. And this saying or phrase is widely used, especially in the political arena, when you're going to make a comment against the government or its rule in a country or a city. But I won't talk about the politics of it today. I will tell you a folk story from where the story comes or the phrase comes. And this story that I'm going to narrate you today, it comes from this book called The Greatest Folk Tales of Bihar. Bihar, as many of you would know, is a state and a part of India. The book is written by Nalin Verma, and as the title suggests, that it carries a lot of stories, a lot of folk stories from Bihar. Many of these stories you'd find some kind of Panchtantra kind of theme where there are animals and there are moral lessons to be derived from those stories. Then there are some stories like the one I'm going to narrate today. There are these stories with social and political narratives. So without any delay, I'm going to narrate you this story, which is called Andher Nagri Chaupat Raja. So let's go. Once upon a time, there was a city called Andher Nagri. Literally translated, the name meant dark city. The king of Andher Nagri was a man of whims and fancies. He had decreed that everything was to be sold at the same price. Thus, a sweet meat cost as much as a lump of salt. Meat had the same price as spinach. Be it potatoes or mangoes, they cost 1 paisa each. Whether it was a fine variety of rice or coarse grain, every edible item was available at throwaway prices. One fine day, a hermit and his disciple visited Andher Nagri, where they saw a taxman shouting at a pumpkin vendor waiting for customers in the marketplace. You're supposed to give me at least 7 pumpkins as tax, but you brought only 6 pumpkins. The tax collector barked at the vendor. Without waiting for the vendor to respond, the fuming collector lifted all the 6 pumpkins along with the basket in which they were kept. I'm taking away your basket. It will compensate for the 7th pumpkin. The taxman shouted and moved to another shop. Feeling helpless and harried, the vendor approached the king and narrated his plight. The king fumed. You should have brought 7 pumpkins. You had only 6. Now you've come to complain against the tax collector, who was only carrying out his official duty. The king ordered his guards to whip the vendor as punishment. Bruised and battered, the vendor left the palace. Disturbed to see all this, the hermit's disciple advised him to leave Andher Nagri at once. It's a dangerous place, my master. There is no justice here. We should go somewhere else, the disciple said. But the hermit did not agree. Things are available at a cheap price in this city. Why should we move elsewhere? The hermit argued. The disciple thought otherwise. You may live if you so wish, but I'm going to live somewhere else. If you ever land in any trouble, do let me know, the disciple said, taking leave of the hermit. The hermit began living under a banyan tree in Andher Nagri. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. One day, thieves broke into a trader's house, and a portion of its mud wall caved in, killing a thief. Learning of her husband's death, the thief's wife rushed to the king's court. "Who will feed me and my children now, my lord? My husband died in the middle of a theft at the trader's house." The king ordered his guards to arrest the trader and bring him to the court. Handcuffed, the trader was produced before the king. "Why did you build such a dilapidated house? Its wall collapsed and the thief was crushed under the debris. Who will feed the thief's wife and children now?" The trader fell at the king's feet and pleaded, "My lord, it was not my fault. The mason used substandard material to construct the wall. He should be punished." The king saw reason in this. He spared the trader and ordered that the mason be arrested. His guards arrested the mason, but he also pleaded innocent. "A prostitute is to be blamed, my lord. She was passing by while I was building the wall, and the sight of her distracted me. As a result, I could not concentrate on making a strong wall." The king ordered the guards to arrest the prostitute. When produced before the king, the prostitute too begged for mercy. "My lord, I haven't committed any offense. I was on my way to meet my lover. I did nothing to distract the worker," she said in her defense. The king soon had the prostitute's lover arrested. He did not allow the accused to defend himself and ordered that he be hanged to death. But the hangman found his neck too thin to fit into the noose. The king was informed. "You stupid man, you don't have common sense. Substitute the guilty with a fat man whose neck can fit the noose and hang him. Simple." The king shouted at the hangman. And lo and behold, the guards spotted the plump hermit and decided that he was a proper substitute. Faced with a death sentence, a frightened hermit sought time to offer his final prayers. The king obliged him. The hermit in distress sent a message to his disciple. The latter rushed to the hermit's aid and devised a plan to save him. "Let's go to the king and start scrambling over wearing the noose," he told the hermit. The latter had confidence in his disciple's wisdom, and so he agreed. The duo reached the king's palace. When the king signaled the hangman to hang the hermit, the disciple came forward and offered his neck instead. The hermit protested. "The king has ordered me to wear the noose, so I should be hanged." This argument between the hermit and the hermit's disciple continued for a while. A little perplexed, the king remarked, "I've seen people struggle for survival, but you guys are strange. Why are both of you vying to die?" The disciple politely said, "My lord, it's an auspicious moment. Anyone who dies right now will become the king of the three worlds, the earth, the sky, and the sea." The king was not only foolish, but he was also very greedy. He instantly drove away the saint and his disciple and got himself hanged to death.